This is a Pele Media podcast.
Welcome back to Jurassic Park Minute. Jurassic Park Minute is the fan podcast that chronicles and overanalyzes the classic 1993 film Jurassic Park minute by minute. I'm Kyle.
I'm Brady.
And folks, you know she's going to be here because we said she's going to be here all week, just enlightening us with her views on movies by minute. It's Miss Crystal Beth. Crystal, thank you so much again for joining us today.
Oh, of course. I'd rather be nowhere else. This is my favorite spot.
Awesome. Is this your podcasting spot in your office where you do everything? Are you sitting in the usual spot?
I actually am. I'm sitting in the corner of the couch with my feet tucked in between the cushions. I've got one hand at the edge of my mouth that I chew on while I'm waiting for my turn to speak. I'm looking at the carpet that needs to be cleaned. I'm going to be picking some lint off it later with my hand and maybe watch Jurassic Park while I'm doing it.
There you go. As long as you're not picking things up off the floor and then chewing on your hand like you said. Not in that order, because that would be gross.
No, I'm not a monster. Thank you.
So how is the New York weather right now? Does it feel like Christmas outside?
I have not even looked outside yet. What is it outside, John? Is it wet? It's cold? It's just cold and cloudy.
Well, that definitely sounds like New York Christmas weather. So we're glad you are inside, warm, and joining us for this podcast today. And if you guys are ready, we can go ahead and jump on into minute number 43. Awesome.
Let's go.
I love it.
In the previous minute, we saw the tour group approach the first of the dinosaur paddocks. After driving through, the group didn't have a chance to see any dinosaurs. As the minute ended, the group exited the area. At 43 minutes, as the park opens, the tour group continues to hold on to the hope of seeing a Dilophosaurus. After a few seconds of peering out of the car windows, Grant says, "Damn." At 43 minutes and 13 seconds, where Ray is telling Hammond that the tour vehicle's headlights won't turn off, Ray tells Hammond that this is item 151 on today's glitch list. In the background, Muldoon is watching the vehicle progress silently. Ray tells Hammond that they have all the problems of a major theme park and a major zoo, and the computer systems aren't even finished yet. Hammond tells Dennis Nidri that everyone's lives are in their hands, and he has butterfingers. At 43 minutes and 34 seconds, Nidri turns around in his desk chair while laughing. Nidri tells Hammond that the entire park can be run on a minimal staff for 3 days, that sort of automation is neither cheap nor easy. Nidri tells Hammond that he is doing this job on a low bid. At 43 minutes and 55 seconds, Hammond tells Nidri that he is sorry for Nidri's financial problems, but they do not affect him. Nidri sarcastically tells Hammond that everything is his problem. And thus ends minute 43 of Jurassic Park.
Okay, so I think we're getting the whole chaos theory theme of the movie tied in here in a way that is kind of not presented in the rest of the movie. So the rest of the movie we have, as we know, when Michael Crichton wrote this book, one of the main things he wanted to do was take this new emerging field of chaos theory and kind of have a way for it to be kind of a pop science audience digestible thing. We have chaos theory represented in the fact that the dinosaurs are going against their genetic modification and they're finding a way to breed, but we're also having the technological chaos going on here. The fact that Ray, portrayed by Samuel L. Jackson here, says that the headlights on the car are feeding through the batteries, and that's just number 151 on that day's list of problems. He's saying that they have all the major problems of a theme park and a zoo, and they're not even fully operational yet. So, again, we're getting the chaos kind of on a man-made level here. You know, all these computers are breaking down. We're about to see, and it's by Dennis's, I guess, manipulation, things get a little bit worse here in a few minutes. So, yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, too. All right, Kyle, damn it, go. You talk.
Okay. So I was going to ask you guys, when you're watching this movie, is that the kind of thing that you ever really think about, is the chaos theory aspect of all this? Is that something that's in your mind while you're watching it?
Perfect. That's exactly what I was about to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we get the chaos theory and what's eventually going to happen here spelt out for us in layman terms, and then the rest of the movie is giving you the ability to say, like, oh, there it is, there's that thing they were explaining to me, here is it being enacted. And it's like, Crystal, you were saying you hate exposition, and people, you know, movies are like spoon feeding you what you're supposed to be picking up on, and this movie does a good job of saying, like, okay, all that stuff, you know, it's almost like a lesson plan, like you were supposed to be taking mental notes or whatever earlier, and here it is you're able to kind of drop that back into it here. And I do think this is one of the scenes where it's best played out.
Yes, and I appreciate it when a movie takes into consideration that their audience might be intelligent. Like, spoon feeding is just the worst. Nothing turns me off from a movie more than when they explain things to you a lot. And this movie does really well. And I know this isn't Stranger Things minute, but Stranger Things also is a really good way of giving you just enough that you can figure it out on your own, even though, and you're like, I figured that out on my own. And then you realize that that's not exactly true. They showed you just enough that you needed to see and then trusted that you could do it on your own. And that, I think, is that's when you could tell something has gone through every rewrite possible to make sure that they're not spoon feeding you just information that you should get on your own. And especially in this minute, like exactly what you're saying, they do a really good job of it. Just enough where I'm like, yeah, no, I know. This is chaos theory. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. And
Yeah, and you know, what's interesting is like, so nowadays everything's got to be spelled out for you. But like we're saying, but I think Jurassic Park might be the cutoff. That might be one of the last movies that just let you piece it together. And it's funny because it's a talkative movie, but it's still not spoon feeding you. Like these guys are sitting here talking about whatever, and we're clearly able to say like, okay, well, here's all the chaos theory stuff at work here, but we're not talking about it directly. And I can't think of too many movies that after Jurassic Park were doing that. We're respecting their audiences. And so this might have been kind of the cutoff. And in the next minute, I'm gonna do some real bitching about this, but it's just so well done here. And then of course you get these two actors, you know, with their comedic timing, especially Wayne Knight, having this little father-son rapport thing. In fact, he even calls him dad. But it's just such a perfect storm of all of those things. The chaos theory being not spelled out for you, but there for you to pick up on in a funny little rhetoric between these guys. It was so much fun to watch. It's just really well done.
So, Crystal, you are a writer, correct?
Yes.
As a writer, do you find that a difficult balancing act to give the audience just enough so that they can figure out what's going on and, you know, so that you don't insult their intelligence?
Oh, yeah. My problem is that I don't give enough. I constantly, when I'm showing my one of my friends is a really good pilot writer. He writes crazy awesome pilots. I always send him my information. And he's like, you need to write for the everyman. He's like, you're writing the way you want something to be done. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. I want it to be done like this. He's like, yes, but you need to keep in mind that some people aren't smart. You have to write so that they think they're smart, which is giving more clues than you would. It's like, because if people know movies and watch movies and are good at watching movies, like I think I'm very good at watching movies, you're going to pick up on stuff faster than people that don't. Because a lot of people are distracted. For instance, my mom and my sister cannot watch movies. They get bored. They'll start doing things. They'll fall asleep. It's the weirdest. I don't understand it. They're weird. But it's hard to find that medium of talking just enough about everything so that the audience understands it, but not over talking it so that they don't think that you're babying them.
Right.
And this movie does that really well. And I think, not to talk about my podcast, but The Fifth Element also does that really well. They don't describe everything that's going on in the movie. They show you, and you know what else? Alien, they don't describe to you, for instance, when they're in their space suits and the little air is blowing up out of their helmets. They don't describe that. They don't talk about it. It's just what it is in that world. And if you just let things be what they are in that world, generally the audience is going to take that as, oh, okay, so that's what happens here.
Yeah. I think sometimes writers and probably more from the studio side, studio notes, producers getting involved. They're like, oh, are the people in the flyover states going to understand what's going on here? Maybe we should spell it out to them. But I think that sometimes they underestimate the ability for an audience to project onto something you're watching as well. A lot of this is like, one of the reasons that we have these Movies by Minute podcasts and we get guests on and talk about it with each other is because we all maybe have a different reading of what's going on there too, because our minds are trying to fill in gaps. And it's really cool to sit down and be like, I mean, fan theories are one thing, but it's just like the reading of the scene. What emotionally is it displaying to you is going on the screen? It makes for discussion.
Since I've been listening to Star Wars Minute and so many other movies by minute podcasts since then, is like having people give this, I'm now able to see it through other perspectives. It doesn't completely wipe away the way I've been seeing it all these years and I read it, but so fascinating.
Or it's like in Indiana Jones Minute. I never heard of the theory of Han's dream.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The whole thing is while Han Solo is in carbonite, correct? Isn't that what the theory is? Yeah.
Yeah, and that he's in carbonite, and then Indiana Jones is just his dream. And Indiana Jones Minute goes so much into Han Solo's dream. They even have a whole section of it on their website that I can't not see that when I watch Indiana Jones. And I think just a couple weeks ago they were talking about how it's funny that if this was a dream, Han Solo is just dreamt about himself being a different type of rogue action hero. But they talk about it being a fever dream. So it's interesting when you start seeing other people's point of views and you're like, oh my gosh, that now I'm watching it from that way. My mind is blown. And I talk about it all the time, the Berenstein versus Berenstain Bears.
Oh, God, don't get me started.
It makes me crazy.
Yeah.
Because I remember it a certain way. Other people remember it a different way. And I go back and look at my books, and I remember Berenstein, and everything says Berenstain. So, like, did we cross dimensions? What is life even? So, if you want to feel crazy, Google that.
Yeah, that's insane. Whenever that was brought to my attention, it was like everything is a lie. I'm living inside the Matrix. Like, would somebody rewrite the code and changed everything? Yeah.
It sucks. It's kind of like finding out that dinosaurs are feathered and they're not like giant alligators battling it out. Like
they're a bunch of birds.
Damn it, you're all wrong. Tomato, you're wrong, I'm right, boom, in the story. So that's
you are
entitled to your wrong
opinion. Opinions are great because you get everyone's opinion. It helps you see things in a different way if you're open-minded and willing to accept what other people think. Just be a good person and you can like movies more is what we're saying.
See, folks, you're finding out about life today by listening to this podcast.
You're finding out about life.
Yeah.
Speaking of this movie, Jurassic Park, though, I think it's so funny that Nidri's monitor has a game of chess like openly out, like he's been screwing off at work.
Yeah,
and he's not even. And I always thought this funny. On his other monitor, playing down in little QuickTime format, is Jaws. I don't know if you've ever caught that, but it's like you can see part of Jaws playing while the camera, our camera kind of pans past his monitor.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so on the third monitor on the left, he does have a little QuickTime thing open, and it looks like it's Brody throwing the chum out to the shark. I never noticed that before, Brady. That's great.
Yeah, and normally that kind of stuff pisses me off in movies when it's like, hey, look at me.
Yeah.
But right here, it's like so subtle. It's just whatever.
Yeah, that's really funny. So this is what a computer hacker was to people in the 1990s, which is hilarious to think about. Like, this is one of the movies where like people were just about to get the internet into their houses, or maybe like your rich friend had like CompuServe or America Online or something like that, or was able to get on billboard services or something. But this is what a hacker was. It was a loser, with no friends,
messy workstation.
Yeah, and just lived to cause like chaos and stuff like that, as opposed to
which is not true, because generally people that are really into their computers and stuff keep the space around them very clean because they don't want anything to get in it because it'll ruin their life.
Exactly. Yeah. So if one of these Jolt Colas he has here falls over to the side, like Jurassic Park's offline, he's lost his job, but more importantly, he's lost all the work that he's that he's done here. Yeah. Decoding all the lines of code or whatever, techno battle.
I think this guy, he's probably thinking about his ego so often that he doesn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I feel like Jolt Cola's going to get in his keyboard.
I've never really noticed it before, but does he have a picture of a donut on to tape to his computer? Is that?
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's a heart around it. If I'm not mistaken.
Is there?
Which you see later. We talked. Go ahead.
No, the set dresser here did a great job. Kind of like, well, we know this guy loves food. Let's give him Jolt Cola and a heart around a donut because that's what's important to him. Yeah.
One of my favorite moments later is because there's a lot of jokes and funny moments playful laughs in this movie, and when Samuel L. Jackson, just how he has to put up with Nidri and their rapport, I think is hysterical.
Yeah,
he goes over to his workstation. He's like, "Look at this! What a complete slop!" And then brushes off all of his stuff just off onto the floor.
Yeah, that's the difference
But
between like a software engineer and like a computer hacker. I think of those two different like worlds within it, that
mhm.
somebody is just, maybe gifted
Yes.
with running code and stuff like that, but how that goes up against someone who maybe had to study all their life and, go to college and get a master's degree
Yeah.
in order to do this stuff. So,
Yeah. There's
yeah.
another little touch going on through all this. I always notice things like all the guys putting up the drywall, or the dude in the
Yeah.
rotunda who's like sweeping, and all these little subtle things that keep you informed that, hey, this is brand new. It's not even open yet. And in this control room, you've got cords hanging out of the ceiling. You've got this like, there's a couple other little examples of it, but just more subtle touches of great set dressing.
We get to see the blinky red lights up close and personal. They are literally doing nothing.
We do, yeah. I mean, if you're able to look at that and read off some sort of computer data, then like more power to you. But to me, it just looks like a bunch of like blinking lights. So yeah. And I love he also
Another
has
cool
some.
touch. Go ahead, Kyle.
The little powdered donuts are just sitting out in the open. It drives me crazy that he's just going to pick those up and eat them. Yeah.
We've been there days too. No, another cool touch is the you see throughout here is not just the workmen who are putting up, like I said, drywall and things like that, but it's the other Jurassic Park staff who are all walking around in their pink collared like polo shirts, and you see them pulling them off the elevator, and then here they are in the control room, just kind of walking back and forth. Neat little touch, just to let you know this is a bigger operation than we're seeing amongst these these few characters. We've been talking about these like different clocks that are ticking throughout the movie. The storm, you've got Nidri's little plan and things like that. He says here in a minute, you could run this whole park for up to 3 days, like with no staff, for up to 3 days, which is just him telling you like we're about to be completely cut off. There's only going to be these handful of people who are going to be able to fix this whole situation, because we're all stuck on this one island. And I like that, the fact that it really puts a limit on this movie and on this situation. These people are screwed after 3 days if no one comes to get them.
And it doesn't feel forced. It feels like a natural part of the whole thing. He's bringing this up right here because it's part of the conversations he's having with John Hammond right here. It's not like an apropos of nothing. Two people are talking about, my favorite dinosaur is Tyrannosaurus Rex. Well, I like the Compamimus. And he's like, hey, guys, by the way, you can run this whole thing for just in case it needs to come up at any other point in the movie. 3 people. It's like, okay, well, thank you, Dennis. Anyway, if a T-Rex fought a Dilophosaurus, So, no, it comes in naturally. It's not playing down to the audience. It's not treating them like children. It's just part of what's going on. But it's one of those little things that's put in there, something to naturally move the plot along, but you don't realize it's even happening. So. But yeah, one thing I did notice is that it looks like some of these monitors have Silicon Graphics logos on them, but they're clearly run on Apple machines. So I don't know if maybe one of these computers is hooked up to something else running in the background. But yeah, this is and at the time too, this is like when Apple computers were not really at the level that they are that we all think of like right now. This is like I think before Steve Jobs had come back to the company, and it was a very, very, very niche thing to be able to work on an Apple. But
did you guys ever see Blank Check?
I'm aware of what you're talking about, but no.
So much
Where
fun.
he gets a blank check because the guy runs over his bike and is like, whatever, just write a check. But it turns out he's a part of a underground. I saw when I was younger, so I didn't understand the underground thing. But he wrote in the check $1 million, and he goes through an old Macintosh computer to sound like an adult. And whenever I see old computers like this or think about old Macintosh products, all I think of is $1 billion. Ha ha. And like it talks like that, but it's just such a old thing, and it's really fun.
This was like back in the day when computers were magic. Like you could do anything with them. As far as we know, it's like Tron on the inside, and all the computer programs are little people interacting with each other. But you could do magical things like have voice modulation to sound like an adult, or be able to run an entire park off of computers here, which you could fit all 3 of the computers on Nidri's desks here into maybe a third of what's on our phones and pockets right now. But as far as like the story needed to go, these computers could do anything. It's you could press a button and it would say like hacking 5% complete, 10% complete. And audiences would love it back then. So, and there's a part of me that really misses that innocence that we had with technology back then too. That you could like download a Jolt Cola or something like that. But
freeze and enhance.
Yeah, zoom and enhance.
If we
zoom
had
and
the
enhance.
ability to do that. Yeah, you don't see that in movies anymore. I think they did it in like one of the last Fast and the Furious movies or something. It was hilarious. Freeze, zoom in,
Well,
enhance.
if you want
Yeah,
magic
right?
magic computers, all you need to do is look at like NCIS on CBS because they can do anything with computers there. It's I think there's like one famous scene where someone was hacking a computer, and in order to do it faster, a second person jumped on the same keyboard so they could hack faster on a computer. But,
Wow.
I like when you zoom up onto hackers' fingers. They're just like gently, barely touching the keys and like just moving their hands like they're in a cartoon.
But the Foley are, sound effects sound like someone's just like sitting there like banging their fists on a computer keyboard really fast. So, that's all I've got for this minute. Do you guys have anything else for minute number 43?
That is it for me.
Same here.
All right, great. Well, hey, folks, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up and be back here for tomorrow for, unfortunately, our last day right now with Crystal Beth, but you will be able to hear her on the Goonies Minute podcast coming up very soon. And very soon, her own podcast, The Fifth Element. Crystal, if people want to find out more about you or The Fifth Element, where can they do that online?
You can follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is TheCrystalBeth. Our website for The Fifth Element is thefiftheleminute.com. It's not going to be up and running, I think, for another week, but it exists. Also, Twitter for Fifth Element as well. And then if you wanted to listen to Unlimited Lives, it's Unlimited Lives Radio on SoundCloud and iTunes. And listen to all the Minute podcasts because they're all amazing. They're so much fun. It's all I do with my life now.
Well, we love all the work that you do. We love following you, and we really look forward to Fifth Element. That's Fifth Element. That is going to be a great show. So, all right, folks. Well, for Brady, for Crystal, and myself, until tomorrow, hold on to your butts.
Jurassic Park Minute is a fan-supported podcast. If you like the podcast, then leave us a review on iTunes. You can contact us at JurassicParkMinute@gmail.com and visit us online at JurassicParkMinute.com, Facebook.com/JurassicParkMinute, and Twitter.com/JurassicMinute. You've been listening to a Pele Media podcast. For premium content and exclusive podcasts, visit us at Patreon.com/Pele Media. Check us out on Facebook at Facebook.com/Pele Media and follow us on Twitter at Twitter.com/Pele Media.